smoke.
Here we go, Sick of 365. 365 Sports, the day after National Signing Day. Gabe Brooks, football scouting for 247. No, Gabe, what were you, like 12 when I first found out who you were or something like that? You're covering Carthage football or something like that?
Yeah, I think the first time I know that one of the things that I'm sure you remember is the Panola TJC basketball game that went to triple overtime.
Oh, yeah.
With Jimmy Butler going for 40 or something and Panola upsetting Tyler in the first round of the conference tournament. I know that's way back there in those days.
I think that was down at Angelina College or something like that as well.
It was at Kilgore. It was at Kilgore College, yeah.
Those great JUCO games, I miss them quite a bit. Okay, so let everyone know there are analysts, recruiting analysts, writers, and all that, but you yourself are one. You go on the road. You go look at prospects. You go see the talent, right? Is that what you do?
Yes, and really, I moved almost a year ago. I moved more into a role where I don't cover the recruiting side. It's all scouting, and honestly, it's as much tape as anything. And looking at data, huge track and field. I'm a proponent of using multi-sport and track and field and all that kind of stuff as data points to measure prospects against each other. We have a scouting department now that's myself and Cooper Patagna, who has been the director of player personnel at Oregon and Washington. He's worked at Michigan. He's worked at Alabama. And also Chris Singletary, who was on the Michigan team with Charles Woodson and Tom Brady and has been the player personnel guy at Michigan about a decade or so ago. So I'm working with two actual football people on a daily basis. There's not one person who gets the final say on anything. And we, of course, still work with our really good national and regional guys like Brandon Huffman and Greg Biggins and Andrew Ivins and Steve Wiltfong and Alan True and all the guys all over the country who are boots on the ground in respective regions.
Gabe, a lot of deep talent in this particular recruiting class and big-time guys. We'll start with the biggest one is Travis Hunter, who's going to Jackson State and not FSU. How program-changing is he for people out there who have not seen his high school film?
He is so I saw him in a 7-on-7 environment, and I'm not huge on 7-on-7, but it's very good, especially if you're in person, to be able to just see body types and functional athleticism and all that. He's the best skill player I've probably ever seen in person. He would be the number one wide receiver in the country in this class if he were projected a receiver. He obviously is projected a corner, number one player in the country. As amazing an athlete with an elite overall athletic profile as Evan Stewart from Frisco Liberty has as our number one receiver in the country, Travis Hunter would be the number one wideout if he were playing wideout. Just wiry, strong, tall, long, lean, unbelievable twitch for a guy who is admittedly pretty thin, but just body control, spatial awareness, ball skills, instincts, and absolutely super alpha demeanor. Exactly what you want in a cornerback. Saw a bad rep every once in a while, and two different times in that 7-on-7 setting, he got an interception on the very next play after getting beat the previous play. I mean, this is somebody who, in production, 137 catches his junior year. He had about 80 this year, despite missing several games. About 20 interceptions over the last 3 years. He checks every single box that you ask for.
Gabe, how you doing, man? Good to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Sticking with wide receiver, or you were talking a little bit about, if he played wide receiver, but speaking of wide receiver, Baylor grabbed a couple yesterday, had the big announcement from Armani Winfield out of Louisville, and also got Jordan Neighbors locked down as well, despite a little bit of a push from Texas Tech and Joey McGuire there late. I know our guys are very high on those two as a duo. Your thoughts on Neighbors and Winfield and what they bring to Waco?
Winfield is going to give you the good height and length, the big framed outside guy who is immediately going to be able to stretch field with linear straight line speed. He's kind of a long strider, so he's going to build speed in the vertical portion of the field, and that's where he really thrives. Neighbors has off the charts combine testing, which is important. I think he was better this year than he was last year, as it should be. But I do think that he can tap that combine athleticism a little more on the field. He's a good field athlete. He's an amazing combine athlete. And, sometimes guys are the other way around. Some guys are field fast and combine fast. Sometimes, they're neither or they're either or. But I think he is a good field athlete with outstanding numbers, and I am generally somebody who's going to trust the data on that kind of stuff. So, he's somebody who should have a lot of upside.
Quinn Ewers, we know the story. South Lake Carroll stops playing his senior year, goes to Ohio State, makes a nice NIL, doesn't do but take 2 or 3 snaps. Now he's at Texas. That's where he was originally committed. Yeah, we hear about he can spin it better than anybody, that he's this once-in-a-lifetime guy, and we've heard that before. But where is he in your opinion?
Well, as far as just natural arm talent, just to put it plain, the ability to throw it, he's the best one I've seen. That includes Kyler. That includes Mahomes. If you're talking just strictly an unbelievable ability to make every throw from myriad arm angles and off platform, on the move. He has the thing I've said about him a few times in the past few months when asked is he has a second life on his throws that is really, really rare. Almost as if the ball is accelerating more in the back half of the throw than out of his hand. And I think that has a lot to do with spin rate, but he really makes it look easy. You hate to compare somebody to names like Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, or any of these other guys. Bryce Young was a guy I saw at the opening finals who's probably the best guy I've ever seen in a 7-on-7 setting. But as far as just making it look easy, making really difficult things look easy, Ewers is he's up there with Kyler. The thing about Pat was that Pat did unbelievable stuff, and it looked hard. Like, he did really, really hard stuff, and it's like, how'd this guy do that? Because it looked hard. Ewers is a little more, Pat was fiery and super competitive, and Ewers is a little more of that Kyler demeanor of kind of, below the surface, calm, poised kind of an approach.
Texas A&M had that big, gigantic class that unprecedented, at least for them, and Walter Nolan right at the top of that. Is he someone who you expect to step in and play right away?
He can. He 6'4", 330-ish pounds, probably carrying a little more weight than I bet he will once they get him in their weight training program. This is the way I put it to somebody yesterday. Between him and Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy and Anthony Lucas, they signed essentially 3 guys as good as DeMarvin Leal coming out of high school. And then you consider Malik Silla, who is one of the highest upside players in this class in the entire country. A guy who's 6'6", 230, and has some athletic juice to him, but he plays in that Katie scheme where he's kind of more of a he's responsible for certain duties rather than being cut loose. I mean, hopefully we could see him cut loose a little. But they're assembling a truly elite defensive front line group with those guys. Dindy is a freak show athletically, has an MMA background as a kid, 6'2 plus, has a 6'10", 6'11 wingspan. He's freaky, and Nolan's plug and play. He's a plug and play. He can go in right now and play for just about anybody. And in the era of D line being position valued higher than it is now in respects to NFL draft, I mean, those are three guys who 10 years ago would probably all be in the top 10, if not higher, of this class.
Gabe, looking at just kind of the game of football itself, are you noticing any slight or even any major changes just in terms of style, things that maybe have become more important that weren't as important at one point in time? Is everything pretty much the way it was 2-3 years ago, or how has it changed the most in your opinion?
I think something that I don't know if it's a big change necessarily, but I think that something that more and more programs are paying attention to is kind of the small, extremely athletic, extremely fast slot type, that archetype, that Jalen Waddle type of guy. Devontae Smith wasn't necessarily a slot, but he was 165, 170 pounds, another, a skinny, speedy guy. I think that more schools are looking for those types, and I think there's a lot of those guys out there. Now, there's not a lot of Jalen Waddles or Devontae Smiths out there necessarily, but Brennan Presley at Oklahoma State is a good example. His little brother, Braylon Presley, who is a senior, and like his older brother, won the Oklahoma Gatorade Player of the Year. These are 5'7", 5'8" guys with sub-11 100-meter speed and, unfathomable production at the high school level. And, look at Alabama, not only Waddle, but JoJo Earl in last year's class. This year they signed Kobe Prentice out of Alabama. They signed Aaron Anderson out of New Orleans. They signed another one of those slot type that, with verified track speed. And I think that's an archetype that's becoming more and more popular. And I think it's a reflection of just how fun offense has gotten in general.
Gabe, there's still some players. Is it Campbell, the offensive lineman, has not yet signed, may not sign apparently till February. There's the Denver Harris at North Shore. They play, as you know, Duncanville. We saw Duncanville up close and personal, how loaded they are. Denver Harris, who has not yet made a decision, might after Saturday's game. How good is he? And obviously it's between, it looks like A&M and Texas as well.
He's really, really good. He's a technician. He's not he's not going to blow you out of the water with combine or track numbers or anything like that. But he's a good athlete with the requisite frame, with excellent feel for the position, hyper aware, has ball skills, and he can do something with the ball if he gets it. I think he's a pretty high floor corner, at a position that's tough to be a high floor guy. He's somebody, quarterback, offensive line are very tough to get on the field early. Corner is probably right there after those. He's somebody who's good enough to get on the field early as a young corner.
You got anything else? Gabe, again, I think I said I knew you when you were 12. It might have been 13. You and Craig have known each other for a long, long time as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We're proud of you, man. I really am.
Yeah, let me ask you about one more player. Cade Klubnik, head off to Clemson from Austin Westlake. They're just a absolute machine down there at Westlake right now. But, a lot of the attention is on Quinn Ewers. But, Klubnik's a guy that's been talked about for quite a while, been committed to Clemson and now signed committed for a while and now signed. But your thoughts on him, Gabe?
He is maybe the safest bet in this quarterback class in the whole country. I think that if, what we do is we project to the NFL draft because that's what we're graded by. So we don't necessarily, say this guy's going to be good in the NFL. We say, what are these traits that are going to be, as a high school senior that should project to being valued in the draft process? So with that context, I think Klubnik is probably the safest top tier quarterback in this class. Very good functional athlete, can hurt you with his legs, but he can make all the throws. His throwing motion and mechanics have gotten way better over the last 18 months. He's very smooth. When earlier he was kind of a little too over the top with his delivery, but he makes very few mistakes and has a ton of production. I think that the kid going to Penn State, Drew Aller, and Connor Wigman going to A&M, I think that those two are probably higher ceiling, for what it's worth. But I think that I think that their potential may be a bit higher just because they're big body types. Wigman's 210, 215 pounds. He's going to play at 225, 230. Aller's 6'5", 225 right now. Really like a Josh Allen type of guy in the long run, potentially. But having said that, there's not anybody at quarterback in this class who is going to be as ready as early to play and make an impact as Klubnik.
Imagine being that talented, that much moxie, that much of it factor, and also being able to play for Todd Dodge and knowing what he knows about the quarterback position as well. Gabe, thank you. Appreciate your time. You have another one? All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Gabe Brooks.
Appreciate y'all.
247, actually the evaluator of talent, and also gave us a lot of nuggets on players who signed from throughout the country as well.
Well, on that note as well, Evan Stewart is officially an Aggie.
He did say
wide receiver has signed officially. Just saw that come down in the last few minutes. There was some thought, I guess, when he didn't sign yesterday that, Dion was getting involved, and Dion, Jackson State, apparently there was another name that was out there, one of the big unsigned guys that there was rumors going about, oh my gosh, could they potentially get these guys as well? But, it just took an extra day. Evan Stewart is now officially signed, and they've sent out the graphics and all of that, or Billy Lucci had it that he was official. So, yeah, Evan Stewart officially an Aggie, and their number one recruiting class continues to become even more of a number one recruiting class.
I don't know if anyone saw this. One more note about recruiting, and then we'll move on. And we'll hear from Jason Cook for a couple of minutes about the R1 status that Baylor received, along with others, Memphis, UT San Antonio, others. I love this quote. He was asked about whether or not he's been recruiting any of the players that he helped recruit to Clemson. He said he has not tried to recruit any Clemson decommitments, not just commitments, decommitments. Said he has too much respect for Dabo and wants to do things the right way.
I think my favorite response to that was like, that's admirable. It's really dumb, but it's admirable, and I agree. It's admirable. It's also really dumb, because if you could go and get some of those guys, that would probably help your program. But no, that's a classy move by Venables. I mean, I don't think a lot of coaches would probably operate that way. I mean, we saw, and I'm not knocking those who don't, because it's rare that he's doing that, but like Joey McGuire, within his first 2 weeks already had flipped a Baylor commit for 24 or for 23, and was trying to flip some other guys, and Lincoln Riley obviously at USC is trying to flip some Oklahoma guys, and so yeah, that's rare for somebody to not even recruit their decommitments. That's maybe taking it too far, but I respect it.
Well, it's